Coincidentally, the mysteries went with them, but the name, how this mystery of how Jewish and Hebrew names ended up in France and all these countries. Gaul, which is now France, the place of the Franks.
Oh, it was Gaul
big Roman Empire, big state of the Roman Empire.
But can you tell me again about the Hebrew people in France were the upper middle class craftsmen?
Yeah. And we're for
Our
ages. So
name
what
means
happened?
of the Hebrews in one translation.
It's Hebrew. It is Hebrew.
It is
the
Hebrew.
the eon means ever from. Do you know who told me that?
It's the French version of the Hebrew.
Do you know who told me that?
Which has another meaning.
Wasn't a French person. Remember Rob Schmuel Skates at the Rainbow Gathering? It was the Jewish.
Rob Schmuel Skates,
Rob,
not of
Rob is a teacher class.
No.
He's a rabbi that's a teacher. That Rob means teacher. His name is Schmuel Skates.
Oh, he's the other guy with the bald head?
No, he was younger guy, a little bit younger than me.
I
We
don't
were always
remember,
very close.
excuse me, I'm sorry. I don't remember that guy yet, but I know I would remember if I
So
saw him.
he asked me. I already knew it was Hebrew. He asked me at one of those rainbow gatherings. He's Jewish. I'd gone 5 years and camped with them.
Mm-hmm.
And Rob, finally they finished. He said, Kent, we know your first name, and we all like you a lot. Speaking of Israel, the Camp Israel. Mm-hmm. And he says, what is your last name? And I said, well, oddly enough, I think it is Hebrew. Mm-hmm. And I think the E on the end. See, I hadn't taken a lot of time to research it. This I just kind of, it came to me, however
Is this the one I drink? Right here?
It's...
Or?
No, it purified it if you're going to drink
Okay, there we go. Thanks. Okay, go ahead.
So he says, well, what's your last name? And I says, you know what, I think it's actually Hebrew, and I think it's really, really old, probably back to Abraham, 2000 BC, something. And he says, what is it? And I says, it's Brisi. And he got a really strange look. I says, I don't know how to, because I don't speak Hebrew, but we say Brisi. And he got a really strange look, and he says, I said, this is how you spell B-R-E-S-E-E, and the E-E means ever from. And he says, he got a really odd look because he's absolutely fluent in Hebrew. Okay. And he says to me, you're absolutely right. Your last name is Hebrew, and it means it means of or from my covenant, the ancient covenant between God and Abraham.
That's my calling.
Well, so
God's
the other thing
of being but I got the rest of the message, which was, you who will inherit the earth through the labor of love of your hands.
That's
like, so maybe it's not exactly the
That's
language,
what Israel, all of
Israel,
Israel was supposed to be
hands.
doing. Will you hand me the jalapeno?
Oh yeah, here you go. Okay,
what else? He told me something else that day.
This salmon patty is so good.
I wish
I want to know what company this is, because this is so.
It's Trident, and it comes. I don't know if it's Atlantic or what, but it is wild Alaskan salmon. At Costco. Don't you have a Costco card?
I've got it in my picture so that I can look at it again. A lemon, it's in a bag.
I've seen that at Walmart.
No, but I could get a
This is the best deal. I've seen this company at Walmart and a few other places, but hey, Costco has great marketing.
Trident, you said that with those. It's really a tasty one.
They have other stuff that comes from up there too. Rob told me something else. Yeah, he says, we know your name is Kent, and that's Gaelic. Gaelic is an ancient...
Did you say what it means, though?
He was fluent in Hebrew. I'm not sure he was fluent in Gaelic. I don't know.
Make sure if you don't want me to record anything that I turn it off before I, if you have something you don't want me to put up on the thing.
He was more...
Okay.
Well...
Go ahead.
Gaul. France was Gaul.
Okay.
Gaelic, the language. Northwestern Spain... When you talk to your mother, tell her this. All of northern Spain was white European. Southern Spain is where the Moors come across the Rock of Gibraltar, I think it was. Anyway, there's a coast there. It's only about 30 miles from northern Africa over to southern Spain.
Right.
And the Moors came in for centuries.
And the Basques, they're ancient too, right?
Very ancient.
Because we have, I know that we have Basque blood as well. Or at least on Mom's side, I do. I don't know, but I get a lot of feelings about the Basque people.
I have a lot too.
Whenever that comes
they're
up.
Interesting. Your Uncle Norman lived around them a little bit out.
Really?
They're all over northern Nevada. They're still sheep herders.
And they call themselves Basque people.
Basque. They live out there. They're still sheep herders. They're still connected to the land through herdsmen. They're big on their herding thing.
And that's what they.
Animals particularly.
That's one of their lineage covenant or their.
I don't know.
Their medicines.
They've been sheep herders throughout the ages. They lived in
In northern Nevada?
Spain. Well, they live in northern Nevada, but in Europe they lived in northern Spain.
What's their skin like, though? Is their skin dark? Or are they light? Or all different? Blue eyes?
Medium, usually.
Medium? Okay.
Olive complected, usually. The ones I've seen, I don't know if there's something else going on or not.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm just curious. So, you're telling me about Gaul and the Moors across from wherever, Egypt,
Okay, you have,
which is
in
over
England
here.
you
So
have
it's
Kent, my name. It's a Gaelic
Kent,
name.
England. Okay.
Back, I'm talking about a migration. You go to France, that was called Gaul. Galatia, that's the land Gaelic of the Gauls. You go back to northwestern Spain, that's called Galatia. Northwestern Spain, it's a province, one of the most
Northwestern
prominent, wealthy
Spain
provinces on the ocean.
is Galatia.
Northwestern
That's a great
Spain, and northwestern on the coast of Spain.
Want me to help you? Sure.
I don't think I want
From
to.
there you can go to a few other places, and but the main places you go back to northern Israel.
Yeah.
You have the Sea of.
Galilee, which is of the Gaul people. Or
I don't
no?
know. This is something.
The Galatians. They're related to an ancient word, Gal.
They don't know. Most of the European languages are Romanic based, which is Roman. The Gauls, they don't know the origins of the Gaelic language. And when I say they, somebody obviously does, but the theologians and scholars, all I've ever heard is they actually don't know the language where it originated. But I'm believing that the word Gaul, by the way, in Galatia, when the Romans were all over Israel controlling it, there were a big Caesarea was in that vicinity. I think it was in Galatia.
Caesarea?
Oh yeah, it was a big.
Like a town, like a city in Galatia?
Yeah, they built a Roman city in Israel, in northern Israel, called Caesarea.
I wish I had my pen because then I can write it.
This
Gaul,
is all on Wikipedia.
But Gaul is a word of an order of a place in
Galilee.
creation.
Who was from Galilee? Who important? One of the most important figures of all, if not the most important figure.
They're telling me what it means. What?
Jesus Christ was born in Nazareth, which is in Galilee.
Remember that. Okay. Galilee. But G-A-L, what is the actual word root that this comes from? G-A-L-I.
I don't
Of
even
a
know
higher
if it's
dimension.
Hebrew. I'm guessing
Gali.
it's Hebrew.
G-A-L-I.
I-L-E-E.
You got the heat on.
I have the fan running to circulate the air in here. I don't have the heat on. I don't have the AC on.
Gaul is of the higher dimensional order of a place in this thing that I don't understand. Like it's like a dimensional. It's like this
Do you want me to go back another step? Do you want to go a little further
open
back?
heart connection to source. That's what the root word is telling me. The
What?
G-A-L is the open heart connection to, but it's not. It's of a place. So that word comes of a place that is the order of the open heart connection to source. And when they drew it like a stepping up to the highest place of receiving. So
didn't
Gaul,
finish.
Galilee, as well as this place of open heart connection.
I'll clarify this for you. Our last name,
Are you in the picture? You are a little bit, but you can eat this one.
well,
Or you can come over here.
so Rob is telling me, and he says, you know what, Breeze, the ancient covenant between God and Israel was circumcision and other things. It was a lot of things, but the men all had to be circumcised.
Mm-hmm.
The circumcision covenant is called a breast. It's the covenant.
Bresk, but B-R-E-S-K?
No,
What's the spelling?
they didn't have linguistics like we had. Their spelling, that thing you photographed
Oh,
in there,
right,
that's
that's
Hebrew.
their spelling. Yeah, but still...
You got to think about the evolution of
True,
linguistics
it's true.
when you think about ancient things, not the way it's interpreted today. A breast, a bris. In Hebrew, it was called a breast. It was the breast or something like that. I don't even know if there was a K on there.
The
I don't know
name
if I'm
is
saying
older than that covenant.
Yeah. Well, the covenant was made to Abraham between God, and it was the circumcision covenant was called. That's what it was called.
But the name Bres is older than that covenant. So there's a covenant before that covenant. It's older.
God covenanted with.
Okay, didn't slow down or I'm through.
So the circumcision covenant came through Abraham,
Yeah.
and so that was
It wasn't. That wasn't just a covenant of itself.
I'm gonna get
To
you in
be
the picture.
circumcised was to recognize that you covenanted with God to keep all of the statutes of God. Something, something. You know.
Is that okay?
Mhm.
I just like to have what you're saying so I can remember stuff. Yeah.
So you have. And knowing the story of Abraham's life, do you know where Abraham was born? Wasn't born in Israel. I have a Ultimate Journey PBS special up in Turkey right now. There's a town. I always thought it was Ur of the Chaldees, and I don't know that it
The
isn't. That's where
Chaldees.
the Chaldeans. But on this Ultimate Journey, they're traveling in current day Turkey, and there's a town up there where. I think it's funny. All the people there's like, oh yeah, Abraham was born here, and this is where Abraham was born and grew up, and they still operate business as usual there. And to them, it's like they're talking about a relative that was born through, like 50 years ago.
Right. The way
Abraham
they
was
speak
born
of,
here,
he was
3000
born
BC,
here.
but that's kind of in the shadow of
That's
Ararat.
how
I can't remember the name of the
comfortable and
town.
how close it is, though, for them.
Yeah, the peasants still live a lot like they did there 2,000 years ago.